Congratulations on choosing a fair dinkum shed. Please take the time to read the printed assembly instructions along with your bill of materials before you begin. To assist in the assembly of your shed, there are 3 things to keep in mind. Watch this DVD through several times to ensure you understand the process of assembling the building before you begin work. Measure twice and cut once. Take your time and do everything safely and correctly. It's important to follow all safety recommendations. Don't try to assemble your shed in strong winds. Where practical, wear gloves during assembly, as some parts may have sharp edges. When drilling holes or cutting metal, remember to wear protective eyewear at all times. Your fair dinkum shed may be set on a concrete slab or other approved footings. For the purpose of this DVD, it is assumed that you already have a slab poured and set in place and have met all local council regulations. The shed we are constructing in this DVD will be horizontally clad and has a fully pitched roof in 2 halves. One half contains a fully enclosed garage with 2 roller doors and a side sliding door, while the other half is simply a roofed veranda area. Please note that your shed may be different, and as such, certain construction steps seen in this DVD may be different or even irrelevant. However, the individual methodology will remain the same. Always consult the instruction manual that comes with your shed for exact references. The first thing to do is measure the width and length of the slab to ensure that the slab at minimum matches the engineering plans. Make sure the slab is square by checking that the diagonal measurements match. Consulting your engineering diagrams, measure and mark chalk lines around the perimeter of the building, marking the inside edge of your columns. These lines will later be used to bolt our walls to. The lines will ensure the walls are straight and in the correct location. Measure and mark the position of all your base cleats along your chalk lines according to the engineering plans. Ensure that all the base cleats are square. Using a hammer drill and the appropriate size masonry bit, drill holes into the concrete slab. Fit the anchor bolts and secure tightly. Repeat this process for the remaining base cleats. For back-to-back base cleats, separate each with a washer and bolt together. Lay your columns and rafter C-section on the slab in their approximate positions. Attach the haunch bracket to the web face side of the shorter column and secure tightly. Note: because this particular shed has 2 distinct halves, right and left haunch brackets are used in the tallest central column instead of an apex bracket. Depending on your type of shed, an apex bracket may be used here instead. Attach the right and left haunch brackets to the top of the taller column, making sure that the bracket for the veranda section is placed below. Secure these brackets tightly into position. Attach eave purlin brackets to the top edge of the outer side of both columns, using 2 frame screws per side. The eave purlin bracket needs to be at the height stipulated in the instruction manual, depending on the frame size and roof pitch. Next, place the rafter into the haunch brackets and secure all bolts tightly. Mark the position of the roof purlins on the rafter with a permanent marker. See your engineering plans for quantity and spacing. A temporary screw can be put at the bottom of each purlin to assist when later installing roof purlins. You are now ready to mark the rear wall girt spacings on the columns. Refer to your engineering plans for the number and spacing of girts. Attach the girt bracket to the web face side of the C-section columns. It may be necessary to clamp the brackets into place to aid this process. Attach the wall girt to the girt bracket, using only 1 screw at this time. The end of the wall girts will be flush with the inside edge of the brackets. it may be necessary to trim your wall girt to length. Make sure that all protective eyewear is used and all safety recommendations have been adhered to. It is now time to square up your frame. Use a string line to ensure the bottom of the columns are straight. Measure the diagonals of the frame, ensuring that both measurements are equal. If not, adjust the wall until all measurements are equal, making sure the base of the columns remains straight to the string line. Place and secure all remaining girts. This shed also requires an end wall mullion to be fitted to this wall frame. Refer to the engineering plans for the correct position and mark the top of the rafter on this column. Cut the column into the desired length along this mark. Attach a rafter bracket to the top of this column and secure tightly. Place the column into its correct position on the underside of the frame, checking your measurements as you go. Secure the remaining wall girts to the column using Tek screws. Finally, bolt the top of the column to the rafter. As mentioned at the start of this DVD, this shed will be horizontally clad, and so extra vertical wall girts will need to be added. If your shed is vertically clad, proceed to the next chapter at this point. Attach a vertical wall girt to the outer C-section edge of each column using Tek screws. Mark the positions of the remaining vertical wall girts along the horizontal girts, referring to the engineering plans for the correct number and spacings. Using the bottom string line as a guide, begin by attaching the vertical wall girts to the bottom horizontal wall girt, using only one screw each at this time. Make sure all the tops of the girts are in correct position and proceed to fix off all remaining girts. Use a chalk line to mark the vertical girts along the top edge of the columns and trim the girts with tin snips at this line. We can now proceed to the next portal. In this video, the middle portal frame is constructed from two sets of back-to-back columns and back-to-back rafters across the span. Refer to your engineering plans, as your building may only have a single column and rafter across the span. Place the taller columns back to back, making sure the correct haunch plates are between the two and in the correct position. As before, the haunch plate for the veranda section is placed at the bottom. Bolt the columns together down their entire length and secure tightly. Repeat this process for the small column. Clamp and secure the eave purlin brackets to the top edge of each column. Next, lay the two rafter sections together, one each side of the haunch brackets. Bolt together and secure tightly. Mark the position of the roof purlins on the rafter with a permanent marker, as previously shown. A temporary screw can be put at the bottom of each purlin to assist when later installing roof purlins. Next, square up your frame by measuring the diagonals of the assembly as previously shown. The front portal is constructed in the same fashion as the rear wall portal, by attaching haunch brackets to columns and securing the rafter to the haunch brackets. Refer to Chapter 4 for details. Mark the position of the door jamb onto the rafter. Attach wall girts for the roller door headers by referring to the door installation instructions. Check all measurements and width spacings are correct, making sure the frame is square before securing the roller door column. Attach a base cleat to the bottom of the central roller door column. This will be anchored into position on the slab later. Use a string line to ensure that the bottoms of the columns are level. If necessary, cut your roller door headers to the required length and place into position on the header girt brackets. Clamp into place before securing with Tek screws. Repeat this process for the second header. In preparation for cladding, attach a vertical wall girt to the external side of the C-section of all three columns. Check your engineering plans for details. Measure and mark the distance across each header for the position of the remaining vertical battens. Again, check your engineering plans for spacings.
Attach all vertical wall battens as required in the space between the rafter and the door headers. Use a string line to mark the tops of the wall battens, and using tin snips, trim each batten to this line.
At this point, you can attach the roller door top flashing to the roller door header. Note: depending upon your workspace, portals may be raised after each completion or at this stage. With the assistance of competent help, raise the rear portal into position. Bolt the base of the columns to the base cleats and secure tightly. Important: do not try to raise portal frames on a windy day. Brace the structure temporarily using either ropes, timber planks or unused girt sections. In this case, unused girt sections have been pivot anchored to the slab and attached to the frame. Check that the frame is plumb before securing bracing. Raise the middle portal frame in the same way as the rear portal. Depending on the type of shed you are constructing, you may also need bracing on this section as well. In this case, because the middle portal has used back-to-back columns, they will provide the extra strength needed and bracing is unnecessary. Bolt the middle portal securely to the base cleats. Before raising the front portal, we will attach the eave purlin to the outer side of the frame and a wall girt to the opposite side at the same height. This will act as bracing for the front portal and will help strengthen the structure. Clamp the eave purlin over the eave purlin brackets on the rear and middle portal. Secure tightly with Tek screws on the outside of the frame. Make sure the middle portal is plumb before securing the eave purlin. We can now raise the front portal into place, making sure that the outside eave purlin bracket slots into the eave purlin C-section. Bolt the frame of the front portal to the base cleats and secure tightly. You can now drill and anchor the middle door mullion column to the slab. Make sure the frame is plumb before fixing off. We can now proceed to attach the side wall girts. Using a permanent marker, mark the position of the wall girts on each column, referring to the engineering plans for correct spacings. Secure the horizontal wall girts to the columns using Tek screws. You can now remove the temporary bracing from the rear wall. As our shed is going to be horizontally clad, we can now mark the position of the vertical wall girts. If your shed is going to be vertically clad, you may proceed to the next chapter. Continue to attach the vertical wall girts, making sure they are plumb as you go. If sidewall bracing is required, fix it into position as per engineering plans prior to cladding the walls. The eave purlin can now be fitted to the eave purlin bracket at the top of the opposite side wall. Clamp into place and attach with Tek screws. We are now ready to construct the veranda frame. Note: if your shed does not have a veranda, please proceed to the next relevant chapter. The three veranda columns are constructed the same way as the portal columns, using haunch plate, C-section and eave purlin brackets. Refer to Chapter 4 for exact instructions. Attach all three completed columns to the eave purlin. Refer to your engineering plans for the exact measurements. Depending upon the length of the structure, gutters can be fitted now or later when the veranda is standing. Please refer to Chapter 15 for guttering instructions. Lift the veranda frame into position. Bolt to the base cleats and secure tightly. Make sure all columns are plumb and brace into position using the method previously described in Chapter 4. Attach a rafter to the haunch plates of the central column and the veranda column and secure tightly. Repeat this process for the other two rafters. Your veranda frame is now complete. Unpack the sliding door from its carton and pin the four corners of the frame together using the screws provided. Mark the position for the right-hand door jamb and anchor a base cleat to the slab. Mark the height of the door jamb to the height of the wall girt fitted in an earlier step. Clamp and attach the door jamb to the wall girt using Tek screws. Then, secure the door jamb to the base cleats. Place the sliding door into position and butt the opposite door jamb to it. Secure this door jamb using the previous method. Measure and mark the distance of the remaining wall girts on either side of the sliding door. Secure these wall girts into place using Tek screws. Manually adjust the sliding door into its correct position against the door jambs, allowing for a clearance of the thickness of a vertical wall girt into its frame. This will allow the wall cladding to fit underneath the edge of the sliding door frame. Now, secure the door frame to the door jamb using the screws provided. After attaching the header to the door jambs, install weatherproof flashing above the sliding door assembly. Notch the end of the flashing with tin snips and bend around the edge of the door frame to help secure. Fix into place using screws. Fit the sliding door panels and door lock as per the manufacturer's instructions provided. Measure and attach all the remaining vertical wall girts as per your engineering plans. If your shed is vertically clad, you will not need to complete this step. Your shed may be fitted with a side personal access door. If not, please proceed to the next relevant chapter. Mark the position of the door according to the engineering plans, then cut and remove the relevant sections of wall girts to allow for fitting. Slide the door jambs into place and secure to the wall girts using Tek screws. Anchor the door jambs to the slab using small base cleats. Repeat this process for the opposite door jamb. Attach the door using the hinges supplied, with either screws or pop rivets. Using a small hole saw, drill a hole into the opposite door jamb to the hinges to allow for the latch plate to be fitted. Rivet the latch plate into place. Fit the entrance set as per the manufacturer's instructions and your access door is complete. It may be necessary to fit vermin proofing to your shed. Check your local council regulations to be sure. Vermin proofing fits between the vertical wall girts and the horizontal wall girts and sits overlapping the edge of your slab. To overlap the vermin proofing around corners, cut the horizontal leg away and bend the vertical leg 90 degrees at the width required. Fit all vermin proofing panels around your shed where necessary, securing the flashing to the wall girts with Tek screws. The walls are now ready for cladding. First, sort the wall sheet lengths from longest to shortest and lay out on a flat surface. Mark the positions of the vertical wall girts where each sheet will join. Begin the cladding from one corner of the building, the small section between the sliding door and the front of the shed. Place the sheet against the vertical wall girts, making sure the edge of the sheet slides into the door frame assembly. Pin the sheets to the wall girts using Tek screws in the channel of the sheet. Use a spirit level to mark the screw points vertically into every second channel of the sheets. Work your way along each sheet, pinning the sheet with Tek screws as you go. When fitting new layers of sheeting, make sure each sheet overlaps the one below it by one full crest to prevent leakage. When fitting the sheet around the frame of doors and windows, measure and cut all relevant sections away from the sheet using tin snips. This measurement may differ from shed to shed. Continue to work your way around the shed, cladding each wall at a time, cutting sheets to shape as necessary and ensuring that all sheets remain level as you go. Lift the roof purlins onto the rafters, aligning with the temporary screws that are in place from a previous step. Roof purlins end flush with the outer face of the rafters on opposite walls. Fix into position with one screw per connection initially to hold the purlin in place. Ensure that the end walls and all columns are plumb before the roof purlins are fully fixed into place as per engineering plans. If roof bracing is required, fix this into position now prior to sheeting the roof. We can now fit the front fascia flashing to the veranda rafter. This is for aesthetic appeal only, and depending upon the type of shed you are constructing, may not be necessary. Note: before fixing roof sheeting, check that side and end walls are straight and plumb. Reprop if necessary. This also keeps the structure more rigid while working on the roof. Turn up the sheeting along the ridgeline of the roof cladding with pliers to protect from rain. This is called weathering the sheets. Then, fix roof sheeting allowing approximately half of the gutter width to overhang into the gutter. Ensure that the female rib of the cladding is facing away from prevailing weather. Secure the sheets to the roof purlins using roofing screws through the crest of the sheet. This will prevent any potential water leakage. Note: when working on roofs, please ensure that all safety precautions are taken by using a harness or scaffolding. Work your way along the roof until all sheets are laid. Check that the roof sheets are parallel to the front edge of the gutter at all times. Install the roof flashing, ensuring that the ends are flush with the outside of the end wall sheets. Screw the roof flashing into the crest of the roof sheets. First, peel the protective plastic back off the gutters and stop ends. Then, place the gutter stop ends to the gutter. Drill pilot holes and rivet into position. Position the downpipe nozzle onto the underside of the gutter. Trace the inside of the nozzle using a permanent marker. Then, cut a hole in the gutter using tin snips. Silicone, drill, and rivet into place. Fit the gutter brackets to the eave purlins with a slight fall towards downpipes. Gutter brackets are to be placed at 1 metre intervals. If you are fitting gutters to already clad walls, fit the gutter bracket to the ribs of the wall sheet using pop rivets. Clip the gutter onto the gutter brackets, ensuring the gutters overhang the end walls by a thickness of wall cladding, allowing the barge capping to conceal the gutter neatly. Fold the gutter bracket tags down onto the gutter to hold it into position. Roller doors can be supplied from a number of different manufacturers. For correct fitting, make sure you consult the manufacturer's instructions before proceeding.
To fit the roller doors, first attach the roller door support mounts to the door mullions at either side of each door at the required height.
Attach the track mounts to the track and crimp using multi-grips or pliers. With assistance, lift the door into position on top of the roller door brackets. Attach the door axle to the bracket using the U-bolts supplied. Now, unroll the door to remove the plastic. Fit the lock into position and secure into place. Fit the lock retainers into the door edges as per manufacturer's instructions and then insert and secure the lock bar into place. Insert the roller door into the door tracks either side of the door. Secure the tracks into position using Tech screws. Repeat this process for the second door. Note, if your shed has a single ridge beam, your capping may appear different to this one. Consult your instruction manual for the correct installation procedure. Install all corner and opening flashings, ensuring bottoms of the flashings are flush with the bottom of the wall sheets. Make sure the flashing is secure and watertight. Fit the first length of the barge capping into position on the lower rafter. Screw the flashing into the veranda fascia using screws or rivets. Plumb cut down the face of the outside edge of the barge using a level and tin snips. Repeat this process for the higher barge capping. First, remove all plastic coating from the downpipes. Then, fix the downpipes to the nozzle with pop rivets or wall screws. The larger end of the downpipe is attached to the nozzle, allowing water to flow correctly. An astragal or downpipe bracket can be formed by trimming 50 mm off the end of the downpipe and folding into the desired shape. Alternately, a screw can be fixed from the inside of the building through the bottom side wall girt into the downpipe. You have now finished building your shed. However, to complete, please check these final critical things. Make a final check of the complete structure. Ensure that all base cleats have been tightened. Check that all roof and wall screws are firmly in place. Brush the complete structure down with a soft broom to remove all debris. Hose down the concrete slab to remove any steel particles or debris. Finally, with a last check that everything is completed, congratulate yourself on a job well done.